the thing that polyamory has really taught us that helps us in our individual relationships also is communication, how huge that is. And I know our monogamous friends were always like, man, talk to each other. That's the biggest thing. And I think the difference in polyamory is that you have to. I mean, you really you don't have a choice, really. You have to communicate with each other.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from across the entire spectrum of non-monogamy to hear their fascinating stories. We strive to bring guests on the show who have a healthy approach to non-monogamy. However, it's important to remember that everyone does it a little bit differently, and the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we produce this show for entertainment purposes only. Please be aware that we aren't doctors or therapists. Consult the medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome to episode 296. We're Finn and Emma, and today we have a super fun conversation and a wide-ranging conversation with Nick. Nick's been exploring non-monogamy for about 10 years. He currently has two partners, Sammy and Jace. We actually talked to Jace and interviewed Jace back in episode 254. But today we talk all about Nick's story, and it is amazing.
Yeah, this is a beautiful conversation. And of course, Nick talks about his current dynamic, but a lot of what we talk about is how we got here, how Nick got here, how Nick and Sammy and Jace all got here. And I think one of the really beautiful parts about this conversation for me is around Nick's coming out story.
Yeah. And
what that looked like growing up in a very Catholic family and religion. And also, he was married to a woman for a while. And part of his coming out process, he talks about what that was like and how he navigated that. And also, one of the other things that's really amazing is the huge role in Nick's life that music has played.
Yeah.
And he's going to talk more about this as well because it's a big part of his life. But one of the really awesome things is Nick is in a band. And he is in a band called Brother Hawk. And they're actually pretty amazing. And so we highly recommend you check out the links in the show notes. They have a new album out that you can listen to on Spotify and all the streaming platforms. And so highly recommend you go check that out. It's beautiful music and it's powerful music.
Thank you, Nick, so much for sharing everything you did and for the music. It's amazing. And we're excited to get your story out there.
We are. And one more quick little note before we jump into the interview for all of the premium subscribers. And that quick note is a recording note on our end, a technical note. We somehow, our microphone was not working during this conversation. And so our audio got picked up on the computer microphone, which you can hear us. We are audible, but it also sounds like we're recording in a tin can with a string on it connected to our computer. And Nick sounds great. So that's the bonus. Nick does most of the talking. We don't talk a lot, but we just wanted to acknowledge that the audio sounds a little funky and it won't in the next episode. It was a one-off mistake.
Yes. Sorry about that mistake. And we hope you forgive us and listen to this episode anyway, because it's amazing.
I think we're forgiven.
And Nick does most of the talking, and it sounds great.
It does. So with that, we're going to jump into the interview for all of our premium subscribers. And for the rest of you, we have a couple of fantastic announcements. These are cooked up just for you.
For anyone who's not familiar with the premium subscription, you can sign up on our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com. Just scroll down on the homepage. It's as little as a couple dollars a year, and you can skip these announcements up front, jump right into the episode, and support the show.
But don't worry, you still get the important dates in the outro for anything exciting we have coming up, and we happen to have something coming up.
We do. This coming Saturday, July 15th, 2023, is the day of visibility for non-monogamy.
The inaugural day.
It is the inaugural, yes.
It's the first one.
And we are just to clarify what inaugural means.
Well, hey, maybe we have somebody listening who doesn't know what the word inaugural means. We got people from all over the world.
That's true. And we are an endorser for this event among many, many other people. However, the event is created and by OPEN, the Organization for Polyamory and Ethical Non-Monogamy. We are super excited about this. Go to thedayofvisibility.com, which is also linked in the show notes, and you can find out how you can get involved. They have a bunch of local events and online events and just a lot of ways to get involved. And we would love for you to join this community and get the word out.
Yeah, and just to be clear, those local events are spread out all over the world, and so you should have one hopefully near you. But if not, can create your own.
Yes.
So more information, again, as Emma said, is at dayofvisibility.com. Links are in our show notes at normalizingnonmonogamy.com or in your podcast player down below or whatever direction it is on your phone.
You can find it.
You'll find it, and we highly encourage you to check it out. We're excited about this, and a huge thank you to the whole team over at OPEN for putting this together and all the work they're doing.
And again, that's this upcoming Saturday, July 15th, 2023. And don't worry, they want to do it again next year.
That's
so
right.
If you miss it this time.
Next year won't be the inaugural one, though.
That's true. That's true.
Anyway, enough word jokes. First other announcement, so I guess that would be the second announcement.
Yes.
Would be our virtual community. We wanted to just quickly mention to all of you, maybe you're brand new, you haven't heard us talk about this. We have an online community that is close to 300 people. We use a platform called Mighty Networks. People are in there all day, every day, supporting one another in all of the hard work we're doing, but also the easy stuff, the fun stuff, some sexy photos, some fun photos of your dog eating your cat, probably not. Maybe cuddling with your cat.
I think you just scared some people off.
To date, I have not seen any pictures of dogs eating cats.
Me either.
So anyway.
I don't know quite why that's where your brain went, but
nobody knows why my brain goes any of the places it goes.
That's very true.
So anyway, the whole point is the community is full of amazing people like you who are figuring out how to explore non-monogamy, or possibly even your partner is and you don't want to. We have some of those people as well, and they are in there supporting one another, figuring out how to support their partners, support themselves, and support their community. So it's an amazing space. We highly recommend you check it out if you're looking for community.
Yes, you can check it out and sign up by going to our website, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, clicking on the community page. While you're there, there's a little drop down that also says weekly groups. We are launching weekly women's groups and men's group, and hopefully a gender inclusive group coming up as well. Finn's actually been doing the weekly men's group since last October, so we're not launching that one right now. We're adding on. But if you're interested at all, we would love, love, love for you to check it out. And these are weekly peer support groups. And again, just look for all of the information on our website under the weekly support tab.
Which is under the
weekly group support tab.
Yeah, which is under the community tab.
Yes.
Or just send us an email and we'll hook you up.
That's also, which you can contact us on our website.
You can. That's under the contact us tab or something similarly named.
Yes.
Anyway,
last but not least
is our favorite way to get tested for STIs. It's our favorite way to stay up to speed on our sexual health status, and we highly encourage you to do the same. We use a service called stdcheck.com. It is our favorite way to get tested. So when we're out there mingling this summer, it's summer. Well, for the Northern Hemisphere.
It is for the Northern Hemisphere.
So everybody's out there in their bikinis and their budgie smugglers, and they're just romping around looking for a good time. I'm assuming that's how it is out there. I'm in here.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
So you don't know?
I have no idea what it's like out there on the beaches.
I don't know either.
But nevertheless, we get tested using a service called stdcheck.com. It is fast, it is easy, and $129. It is affordable. And it's $129 when you use the links on our website and save $10. And those links also help support the show financially. So
thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.
And the more of you that do that, the shorter these intros get, the less times we have to talk at you. And the less bad jokes you hear from me.
And with that, on that note, we're going to jump into the interview with Nick.
It is. Also, I just wanted to acknowledge the international inclusion that we did in this episode.
I know, because you put some thought into that, budgie smugglers.
I did. The budgie smugglers and making sure we explained what the word inaugural meant.
I see.
So have a wonderful listen. If you're still listening.
And let's go talk to Nick. Welcome to the podcast, Nick. Good morning. We're excited to, almost, I guess, afternoon for you. Good morning for us, afternoon for you. We're excited to talk to you today. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
Yeah. Oh.
We would love for you to start. Sorry to interrupt.
No, I was just getting excited and I couldn't contain it.
We're excited, or we'd love for you to start. We're just excited this morning. We'd love for you to start by introducing yourself at whatever level you're comfortable with.
Well, I am Nick Johns Cooper, and I'm 37 years old, live in Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm a musician here. And yeah, I guess that's about it.
That's a great start. And I think what's exciting is we actually talked to your partner, one of your partners, Jace, a while back. And so we heard some elements of your story, but we didn't hear them from your perspective. So we're here to fact check everything Jace said. But more importantly, we're here to hear your side of it from your perspective. And so welcome.
Thank you.
So backing up for anybody who didn't listen to Jace, where did non-monogamy come into your life for the first time?
It started with my first partner, Sammy. We met in 2011, and we were monogamous for a while. But that had started opening up to, just fooling around with other people together, doing like hookups and stuff. And I don't remember what year it was, but we were at at Georgia State's like gay straight alliance meetings. We would go every week, and one time a new person came, and we were both like, "Whoa!" like not only were we attracted to them, but it started the conversation. Like, what if we like dated other people? Like, what if we tried to date people together?
Right?
Yeah.
And that probably would have been, I don't know, maybe 2014, 13, 14, something like that. But so that's how it started. And when I met Jace in like 2015, summer of 2015, I met him online. He wasn't polyamorous. He was just, looking for people to talk to and date. And when we started talking, Sammy and I were still together, obviously, and it didn't like sway him at all. He was just kind of interested. He's like, "Oh, that's interesting. Well, why not? We'll try it." Sammy and I had tried dating other people before that, in the year before that or so. Nothing ever really stuck.
Did anything ever happen with the person who came to the meeting that rocked your worlds?
No, we didn't date them, but we did meet up with them, and even with Jace too. Yeah, because we were still friends for quite a while. We're still friends now. But yeah, nothing really substantial, just some fooling around.
I had to ask because it sounded to me like that person kind of rocked your world. It was sort of the catalyst to shift from maybe casual encounters to maybe something more, maybe dating, maybe something a little bit more than just hookups.
Yeah, they weren't really interested on that level with Sammy and I, which is fine. But that's, they're who really got our conversation going about it.
Yeah.
So when we met Jace, our intention was that the three of us would be a triad, like dating. And that was really my goal for the relationship. But it didn't really work that way, because Sammy and Jace, although they tried, it didn't really work for them. So, and it took a long time for me to mourn that kind of thing, but that not working. But they're really, really great. They're like, they just came up with a term for it. They're platonic partners or something like that. They can be together all the time, like especially if I'm on the road on tour or something. Like they're together all the time, and they get along really well. And there's no intimacy there, but it's like a relationship, kind of, So, so I'm like a hinge in our relationship, and it's really worked for us.
Yeah,
that's awesome. And like, I have so many questions, but I want to just jump forward really quick to today. So that's the dynamic today as well. For anyone who didn't listen to Jace's episode, can you just, I guess, refresh and just describe what it looks like today?
so it's Sammy and I who are married, and Jace and I who are also married, and they are platonic, but we all live together. None of us are currently dating other people, so it's just the three of us right now. That has, that those numbers have varied wildly throughout the years, but right now it's just the three of us. I think even when Jace did the podcast, there were others involved, but that has since changed.
Yeah, well, and I would love to. Again, I know we're probably gonna jump around a little bit here, but
that's fine. Yeah,
you threw out that you were married to two people, and I just want to give some space to talk about that, because that is we in talking to Jace, we know that's maybe not necessarily a legal a legal binding, but can you talk about what it looks like and what it looked like and the importance of it for the three of you, because I think that's huge, and I want to give some space for that.
Yeah, so Sammy and I are legally married. We got engaged in 2012, so a long time ago. That was before we even met Jace. And we met Jace in 2015. Sammy and I got legally married right away, right after Trump got elected. Just at the courthouse, just to get it in, just in case we didn't know what was going to happen, And so obviously Jace and I, when we got married, we it's not it's not a legal thing, but I guess that in some ways that I know it's I know he wishes we could be legally married, but. And I do too. But that's that's not a thing right now. So
right. But I imagine it holds the same weight. I mean, what weight does that hold for you, regardless of the legal entity that would bind it?
The symbolism.
It's the same thing to me, because so Sammy and I had a big wedding, and Jason and I also had a big wedding, and they feel even not to say that big weddings are the factor in terms of how weighty, how much weight your marriage holds, but that's how important both of them were to us. That we had, family and all this, all our friends. And so they, to me, in my mind, and, in my gut, they're the same thing, So.
Yeah, it wasn't like you went off and had this grand wedding with Sammy, and then when it was Jason, it was like, oh, well, we don't really want to tell anybody. We don't want anyone. It was very much the same. The difference was there's not necessarily the legal entity holding it together. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. And Jace was part of that when you and Sammy got married then, and then vice versa. Of course, Sammy was part of you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. Jace was our kind of our wedding coordinator with Sammy and I. So, but Jace is such a planner that he was also basically our wedding planner for our wedding. It was,
Some people just take that role because that's where they fit, right?
Yeah, exactly. Sammy is the Disney planner. So both of us, we both had our honeymoons at Disney World, and Sammy is like the Disney World master. So they had that down. They tell us what we're doing and everything. It's great.
It's great to have a whole team of people with different strengths that can all coexist and collaborate together.
Yeah. In terms of budget, for our because we all share the same bank account, and but Sammy is they do math in their head for fun. So it's great to have someone who's really good with math and is in charge of our budget, and so we all have, and I'm really good with taking care of the yard and taking care of our cars and stuff, and so
each person brings their own strength.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Well, and it's amazing to be able to do the things that you like and that are your strengths, and to know that the things that maybe aren't, they're also being taken care of by somebody who is enjoying doing them and who is really good at them. And then you can just sit back and be like, I'll be out here in the yard. Will you take care of the budgets? and we just kind of know that it's going to work out because everybody's doing their thing. I think that's amazing. Love it.
I try not. It's not lost on me how lucky we are that the three of us have found each other, because I know how rare that is to have. Like, it's, you know, we've certainly been in relationships and had, close friends over the years that you really enjoy being with them, but you have a limit as to how much time you can spend with them, especially if you're in the same house. We've had roommates, the same way. But the three of us, none of us have ever felt like, oh, I need space away from you, And, we all three of us value our the time that we have apart alone, I like to go out and run on my own. That's kind of a time for me to, clear my head. And Sammy works far away, like 45 minutes away, and they enjoy their commute where they listen to their audiobooks. And Jace spends a lot of time here at the house with the dogs, because he mostly works from home while I'm working and Sammy's working. But when we're all three together, there's such a comfort level there that I don't know. I always feel really at home with the three of them, and it's the same for both of them, and it's really rare, I feel like, to find that in three people,
Well, I think too there's an element there which is you each have your individuality. You've each found ways to carve out time alone, so when you are together, even if the ratio of together to alone is huge, it seems like you're all getting your individual cups filled so you can show up at the group level.
Yeah, and it's, over the years we've had to learn how to manage the filling of our cups, how we're like, okay, I feel like I need a little more from you, or that kind of thing. And the thing that polyamory has really taught us that helps us in our individual relationships also is communication, how huge that is. And I know we our monogamous friends were always like, man, talk to each other, that's the biggest thing. And I think the difference in polyamory is that you have to. I mean, you really you don't have a choice, really. You have to communicate with each other. Otherwise, it just won't work. And I feel like maybe monogamous couples, they can maybe get away with not communicating as much, not healthily, but like they, it doesn't create a lot of problems that it does in a polyamorous relationship. I mean, that's all, I don't know.
Anecdotal.
Yeah, exactly. But for us, like, it's huge, and it has strengthened my relationship with Sammy, because before, we were dating Jace, like Sammy and I had our own kind of issues, and when Jace came into the picture, it really forced a lot of the issues that Sammy and I had up to the surface to work. Like, we had to work through them, and it's made everything stronger. So,
yeah, I totally get that. I think it's one of the things that, and we've talked about this quite a bit lately, is I think, to your point, Lee, it is harder to just sort of skate by in non-monogamy without the communication. And I think in monogamy, it's still a problem, but I think you can hide that problem for a while. And I think because there are so many defaults that there aren't in non-monogamy, when I just trying to think of an offhand example, but would be, let's say two people get into a bit of an argument, right? And you're like, well, we're going to go to bed a little bit frustrated, but there's always the default that we're going to go to bed together because there's two of us. And assuming we sleep together, that there's two of us, we're probably going to go to bed a little bit annoyed in the same bed. But let's say there's a third person who lives there and we all have our own bedrooms, and it wasn't a guarantee that I'm going to sleep next to Emma. And now her and I are having a little bit of a tough time. maybe it was my night to sleep with somebody else, but we needed some extra time, but there's now communication that happens. And I don't get to just say, well, I have a default and I'm just going to go to the default and we'll deal with this tomorrow. Like, a conversation now has to happen at 10 o'clock at night when people are tired and maybe frustrated because we have to figure out sleeping arrangements. And that's not a thing we probably don't have to do in monogamy world if it's just two of us living together. And so I know that's just sort of an abstract example, but I think it forces conversation when maybe in monogamy we could have that conversation later and later and later, and sometimes never, until it just hopefully fades away. But that doesn't often get to happen in non-monogamy.
Yeah. And that leads to a logistical question for me. And Jace may have touched on this in their episode, but do you three have your own bedrooms? Logistically, what does it look like in your house?
We all sleep in the same bed. It's a king size bed, and I sleep in the middle. And how we have figured out because I get really hot easily, so we actually have a king size bed, but we have two. I don't know if they're queen or full size comforters on the bed. Mm-hmm. So I am in the middle with like and I can get out of bed easily if, in the middle of the night.
Yep, you're in the seam.
I'm in the seam, yeah. So I can kind of I can cover up with both sides if I want to, whatever. So, but yeah, we've always, ever since we met Jace, we've always been in the same bed.
I love it. I also love the description of the logistics of how you do it, because I think we've actually heard that solution a few times lately as well, which is, you sleep in the middle with two sets of blankets and they overlap. Man,
when we like go other places where we have to sleep with one comforter, it's rough for me because like because I also like have to get up in the middle of the night a couple times to use the restroom or whatever, and like having to climb out from under like
like, how am I going to do this without waking them up?
Yeah exactly. So
and you have to just like go under the cover and out the bottom, right?
Yeah. And we have a little dog that sleeps with us, and she's like a little space heater too. So oh my gosh!
As someone who gets very warm sleeping too, I can relate, and I would need the two comforters as well.
Yeah, we have a fan like blasting onto the bed just to like keep the comforters cool, and I always put the air conditioner way down when we go to bed. So
sleeping in a cold room.
Yes,
key as well.
That's why I sleep so well in hotels, like on the road, because we, those hotel ACs, man, they just blast down.
They crank it. Yeah. Well, that leads me to another question too. So, if like all three of you sleep together, but the three of you, there's a relationship obviously between the three of you, but you have individual relationships with both of them. How do you carve out time then for intimacy and connection with each one of them individually? So
for Jace and I, it's usually because Sammy works so much. They work like a 9 to 5 every day of the week, and they have every other weekend off. And so that means they work every other weekend. So Jace and I have a lot of time during the day to find time for intimacy. Sammy and I, it's a little bit harder because they work so much. And when they get home, it's like, they're exhausted and everyone's at home. And, but, Sammy and I find our time every once in a while because Jace is off doing other things. So usually, when we have space to ourselves, we'll find it. And yeah, we've had to adjust and figure out what that means for us in terms of like having less time together. But when we do have time together, it's really meaningful or whatnot. But yeah, we make it work. Obviously, there's always work to be done in that area, but yeah, I think it works all right for us as well as we can do that. We've tried doing things where we share intimate times with all three of us, and it doesn't really work well for us, especially for me. So yeah, we just try to do that kind of thing like separately.
Yeah.
Which I think is interesting from the perspective that, and it maybe ties in the question that I was thinking about, which is around you sharing that you grieved the loss, or the potential loss of not having the sort of the traditional, if there is such a thing, traditional triad of the three of you being in a romantic partnership and Sammy and Jace being in a partnership just the way that you and Sammy and the way that you and Jace are. So that hearing that part doesn't really work for you and the romantic part didn't really work for them, I was just curious, like, if you could talk a little bit about that process of grieving and letting go of the expectation.
Yes, I want to add too, because I was going to ask this question as well. I'm curious, like, what made you really want that? Like, what in the first place, like, where was that desire coming from, and then grieving that process? It's a big question.
Yeah, that is I will be the first to admit that I think in this relationship, it has been me that has had the hardest time with jealousy issues, or adjusting to different things. Like, I've always been the hardest hit with that kind of thing. It seems like Sammy has always been really open and free, and like they've really changed, or they've helped me change as a person, because when they met me, I had been married before I met Sammy. I was married to a woman. I was in the closet, all that kind of stuff. I was raised Catholic, so coming out didn't ever seem like a possibility to me. So I just hid it. But when that all kind of, dissolved, I had a lot of heteronormative things to unlearn, and a lot of, I don't want to say like kind of prudish things to unlearn, but I mean, that's kind of what it was. So almost all the obstacles that we've faced exploring this have been with me. So when Jace entered the relationship, it was just like I wonder if it was really just because I wanted the relationship to kind of just be the three of us, because if it wasn't, then they might see other people, and I was kind of like selfishly not wanting that.
Yeah.
Because like, okay, in my head, I was like, okay, I have the two of them, but I don't want them to. I was too jealous for them to see other people, and I knew in my head like that was shitty, that was like, and it took me a long time to, I don't know why, it was hard for me to get over the fact that Sammy and Jace weren't really interested in each other like that.
Because if they were, then I see how you could twist that and say, well, I have two people, you each have two people. Do we really need more people? Right. But if they're not, then there's the possibility that to make it equal, they might seek something outside.
I also have a hard time with like, I'm really, I guess, really picky with who I live with.
Mm-hmm. Which is a great quality, by the way.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
I've had really terrible like roommate situations, and I just find that I don't really like a lot of people on that level,
Yeah.
So,
It's an intimate relationship of a very different sort when you live with somebody.
Yeah, absolutely.
Romantic relationship or not, either way.
Yeah. So, when I had to make, like, when I really had to find in myself to cope with that and get over that. It was a hard road, but I'm glad to say that I've gotten over that with their help. They were very patient with me, very understanding, more than they probably should have been. But so things have gotten a lot better, and each of them have had other partners, and each of those partners was something really new to explore as far as like how I was feeling, because some of them I wasn't huge fans of, and it was hard for me to accept that like, okay, that this is someone they're interested in and they're free to explore that, but like I would have a hard time with that sometimes. And I guess I'm really glad that I'm glad I've come so far in that kind of thing, because nowadays they can I'm way more chill about that kind of thing. And I feel bad that I put them through all that for so long.
But it's hard. It's when you struggle with something, let's say at the baseline, jealousy, insecurity, and then the person that you then have to confront it with is somebody that you're not even really that big of a fan of. It's so easy to go to that place like, well, I'd be fine if it was somebody I liked. And you're like,
Yeah.
But wait a minute, I also had a hard time when it was somebody I liked. So I don't, maybe there's something here for me that I
You brought up the word insecurity, which I think is a huge part of it. I have struggled with that for my whole life, honestly. Like, I've been very insecure with who I was, what I looked like, being half Asian in a mostly white elementary school. That was a huge thing for me. And
also seemingly being in the closet for a large portion of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That probably doesn't help at all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. There are all kinds of things that, I've just been struggling with. All of this, it just has forced me to deal with it and be open about it. And that's when you really start living your life freely. And I'm, obviously there's probably still, there's still work to be done, but like, if you're not living like that, then it's really hard to be secure about who you are and what how you feel about yourself and whatnot. So that was, I think that was a huge part of like me being insecure with myself. I would project that on other situations, and yeah, it was bad.
But I think it's so common that so many of us, I mean, we struggle with this all the time, the two of us, and individually. Yeah. I'm curious for you, Nick, how did you go after some of that, confronting the insecurity, confronting these things, to start living in the way that felt more you? Also a big question.
Yeah, gosh.
I know, we're asking deep questions today.
I think my confidence level in myself has come up substantially, due to like a big part of that is having Sammy and Jace there, and feeling how much they love me and whatnot. Also, a big part of it has actually been the band that I play in. The guitar player I met in, like first grade or something like that. And he has always been just outwardly like confident in himself, and like very, like, he's a very big personality, knows exactly like who he, like, I know he has issues, but like he struggles with things internally, but like he outwardly has a lot of confidence. And I've learned a lot from him, honestly, like just being around him so much. We grew up together, playing music together. We started a band in like third grade. We had been playing music together all through like high school. He graduated high school early, and I went off to college, so we lost contact for a long time. But he started bugging me. Like once a year, he would call me and ask, like because he was off touring with a bunch of different hardcore bands. And I was like in music school, like at Georgia State, just like practicing piano and organ all the time. And he would bug me to like, oh, we need to start a band together. And I was like, oh man, I don't have time for that. But we finally got together, I guess in 2010. And the process of us forming this band, I'm spending a lot of time on this because music is like, it's massive to me. It's like it's my life, and the music that we play I feel like it's exactly the music that I need to be playing every time I'm on stage. I have so much confidence when we go out and play on a stage that to have the confidence that you're going to annihilate it, every night you go out there. And after the shows, like everyone's like coming up to you and like, oh my gosh, like it builds your confidence a lot, and I think that has translated as we've gotten better as a band and my confidence has gone up. I don't know, I guess that has translated a lot to just my everyday life,
It's huge.
I think it's a huge part, knowing I can sit at an instrument and play it like, at a level that makes me feel really good about myself.
Yeah.
I guess,
Yeah.
I don't know. I guess that has a lot to do with it for me.
Well, it does. And the stronger you feel in those moments, it builds your self-confidence, and then that translates to the rest of your life because you're more confident in yourself. You're you, and you embrace yourself, and that plays out in your relationships as well.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine too, the piece you talked about in there, that you're going out and playing the music that is your music. You're not going out there trying to play death metal if you're a classical pianist, right? Or vice versa. You're playing where you feel you belong. And
yeah.
I think,
well, that's funny because I am a classical pianist. but I also so that's how I was raised. I started playing piano when I was 4 and have been playing and started pipe organ in high school. And that's also a big part of my life too, is church music, because, I was raised Catholic and raised in church. And honestly, the music program at the church that I grew up at was even when I was a kid, I knew left a lot to be desired. And so it was kind of my mission to okay, I'm going to go to school and learn how to do this and try to do it really well for some church. I don't know. And I still, I ended up playing at a couple big Catholic churches. One of them, it ended very poorly. After Sammy and I got engaged, they found out, and it was a huge mess. They fired me, and it was so I had come out, done all this stuff, and then the church that was part of my identity just kicked me out. And
that's so fucked up.
That was a huge I still struggle with it today, Yeah. That was back in 2013, but because it was one of the biggest Catholic churches here in Atlanta. It was it was kind of my dream position, as far as what I wanted to do. So yeah, that really shook things up. And I'm now at I'm at a Presbyterian church, which is polar opposite. They love Jace and Sammy. They know everything. I feel free to be, who I am around them. And it's a good situation for me to be in. But so I'm in that world, and I'm also touring around in a rock band, but keeps things interesting,
Yeah, I love, but I think I hear in there though that you feel, it sounds like now you feel like you're playing in a church where you belong, rather than one that perhaps was your dream, but you weren't really welcome there, and that's so hard.
Yeah, and even before that, growing up and realizing that, you're gay and knowing how the church thinks about you, I had been struggling with that long before that even happened. So when it happened, yeah, it shook up my entire thing, but it was kind of okay, well, now I know for sure that's not for me anymore, So I
But
guess
you're letting go of a whole part of your identity.
Yeah, for sure. And it's something that I still struggle with. My parents still struggle with because they're still, my dad's like a deacon in the church. So it's still, it's still a struggle, but I know I'm better off now than I was. So
Yeah. You're being more true to yourself.
yeah, that's it. Always comes down to that. That's the biggest thing that I keep learning, is that the more true to yourself you are, the more open you can be. So going back to the guitar player I play with, his mom actually married Jason and I, and she has always been we lovingly call, she's a free bitch, she's just she's the freest person I know, and just getting the encouragement from her every step of the way has been important to me too. So
yeah I was going to ask you how it has gone with being out in family and friend circles, but it sounds like there's places where it's been a struggle for sure, and then there's places where you found a lot of support.
Yeah. Yeah. She and mama, I call her mama, just always have, because she's been a childhood, other mom. She's always saying, go where you're celebrated. So
That's beautiful advice.
Yeah, honestly, yeah.
I love that. I'm curious, Nick, if you could talk a little bit about the process for you coming out, because it sounds like it was a very big journey from growing up Catholic, marrying a woman. Now you're in a triad. You're married to two men or to two people, and so I just wanted to maybe touch on that, because I know you're not alone in that, being in the closet, feeling like you probably can't come out of it, and you've gone up against a whole lot to come out of it. I mean, losing your dream job is nothing to sneeze at.
Yeah, my ex-wife Amy, we actually went to high school together, and she also played piano, so we were working a lot together, with I would conduct the orchestras for the musicals we would do in high school, and she was there playing the piano for him, and we really had a really immediate and very special bond. So our relationship just grew. We started dating, and we went to college together. We went to Georgia State together and majored in piano performance, and ended up buying a house together and all this stuff and getting married. Because it didn't feel wrong. I did love her, but I had always, just been shutting down this other part of me, which sucked, but it was just kind of, I was just used to it, I guess. And I never thought it would be possible to find a guy that I would even want to spend the rest of my life with. I had never, I guess I had never come across such a person in my, upbringing in a suburb of Atlanta, just growing up, or, I think there was maybe one out person in my high school at the time. It was really, when I was in high school, it was not like it is today, which it's great today, that kids can feel free to do that kind of thing. But when I had found Sammy, I immediately was it was another moment of my life where I was just oh no, what am I going to do? Because now I can see myself with this person. Immediately I knew this is them. that here they are.
Mm-hmm.
And I was battling with that for months, like just like, oh my gosh, what am I going to do? Like, it was,
because you were still married at that point.
I was still married. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, it was awful. It was like, I didn't want to hurt anybody, but like, I was struggling with it so much that, one night Amy just kind of like knew something was wrong and kept asking like what was wrong, and I was just like, oh, I didn't know how to like just shut it down, but I was like not trying to talk to her about it,
Mm-hmm.
but she wouldn't let up. And so eventually I was just like, I just told her. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm telling you right now. Okay, that's happening right now. And she had an interesting reaction because her sister is gay and her family is very like supportive and liberal and whatnot. So like immediately she was like, oh gosh, I need to call my parents right now, and they need to come over. And like they came over and like they were just like hugging me and supporting me, which was really, weird to me. But like, I don't know, I immediately like I left. She told me like I should go stay with my sibling who lived like 30 minutes away, just to like so we could process all this. So they were supportive at first, which was nice, but then she wanted me to like not see Sammy at all in the process of like us figuring out like our divorce and all this stuff. But I had just come out, and then I was like basically alone. We were, and I had Sammy right there as a support system, and I really didn't, I was not strong enough to not have them as my support system. So I couldn't, stay away. And that's when the process turned really sour. And so it was like it was a big struggle for that it was kind of like a year where, it was really just not a great situation. But after, it took a long time, but after that, like Amy and I have since, healed and we're friends still again. She actually played the piano at both of our weddings,
That's beautiful.
That's beautiful.
She's awesome,
Yeah.
She always has been. And we have both grown significantly from this experience. And she just a few weeks ago got married to someone else, which is awesome. And so that the coming out thing was hard. And then right at the tail end of coming out is when the whole like Catholic Church thing getting fired happened. So like, I don't know. I feel like like the beginning of my relationship with Sammy, the first few years was nothing but like turbulence.
Yeah. Yeah.
But we always had each other. We were always there for each other, and we, it. Now it's funny because now things are like way smoother. But yeah, we started off really wild there for because Sammy had like they kind of were outed, but they had been out since they were like 14 or something like that. So like they had been out long before even I met them. So
yeah.
But for me, meeting them was my coming out. It was really different. It was interesting. But
well, and for some context too, like reminding, I guess, the listeners that you're going through all of that, like coming out, figuring out divorce, figuring out your relationship with Sammy, you're losing your dream job, all of that, like in like your mid-20s. Like, like you're also still young, like trying to, like, we're all at that age of like trying to figure out your life often, I mean,
most like that's.
I'm still trying.
I was like, that doesn't necessarily stop. It doesn't necessarily stop. But there's a different context when you're in your early to mid 20s, and just that's a lot to figure out.
Yeah, it was, and I was in therapy for a while, and that helped, and I should probably still be in therapy, but but things have calmed down for the most part. There's always ups and downs, but yeah, I'm glad to be through with that period of my life. I think I had strep throat like every month, just how stressed out I was and whatnot.
Your body doesn't know how to cope other than get sick.
Yeah, it was bad. It was it was rough.
Yeah.
So like meeting Jace, we were kind of coming out of the tail end of that situation.
So let's throw something else more complicated in here, right?
Yeah, honestly. So, but through all that, we've come out, just way stronger, I think. So,
well, I think that also gives a little bit of context to maybe some of the desire to make the traditional triad work, which is it's a stability thing, right? If you can close it up, everybody's got what they need and you can shut it out, then nobody's gonna mess with your world after your world just got like messed with hardcore for probably a couple of years.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
That's just my interpretation of it, but I was just
I guess there's probably a lot of truth to that, which is why probably it was so hard for me to open it up. But yeah, I'm glad we have, and we've learned a lot from all these different people and whatnot. So,
have you continued exploring and meeting other people, Nick, or has it mostly been Sammy and Jace?
So it's mostly been the two of them exploring other relationships because they were only seeing me basically. So like, but I have met people that I've never been like searching it out, but I did meet someone last year that I quickly realized like I really, really liked them and they really liked me too. It ended very badly, but
oh no.
But it did not end very well at all. But so I'm not searching it out, but if it happens, I guess it happens. That kind of thing. So, I have a visitor, Miss Penny.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. I think there's the polysaturation of what your life can support. I think for us, we've seen this. It goes in waves, right? Sometimes there's a whole lot of extra that we have to give, and sometimes there's not as much. And so I think the times when there is extra, there's an ease of. More of an ease of, okay, I could be open to something. And sometimes when life is just raining down on you, you're like, I have nothing left to give to anybody. And so please, everybody just stay away. And I see both of those.
Yeah. That the relationship last year was, it was, the first time I had really been, rejected by anyone. Not like, so they were not looking for a relationship and neither was I really, but I fell really hard for them and they were falling for me. But the only way they really, I guess, knew how to deal with it was to ghost me, but like make me think that like I don't know. It was not a great situation, and I freaked out and thought something was wrong, and like, because I don't know. That's a whole other other thing. But that took me a long time to get over. I don't know. I guess uh, when I fall for someone, I fall really, really hard, like I did with both Sammy and Jace. But this one just like didn't end the same way. So it's like really the first time that has happened to me. So that was definitely a new experience I had last year. So glad that's over.
I hope that never happens again.
Yes, honestly. I'm like, okay, well, now I'm really not looking for anyone else.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, is there anything that we haven't asked about or talked about today that you wanted to make sure to share out into the world? And we wanted to give you a chance too to talk a little bit about your band and where people can find that, so anyone coming through the Atlanta area can check it out, or I don't know how far and wide you tour, but can check it out in general.
So we aren't touring right now. We're kind of in a weird limbo place, but we just released a new album that's on all the things, Spotify, whatever. And we're very proud of this album. So yeah, you can check it out wherever you are. It's the band name is Brotherhawk, and the new album is called The Dreamer. And it's all about JB is the guitar player. His dad passed away a few years ago, and that the album is him dealing with that and his family. And so I think it's everyone who's listened to it and who's gone through had some sort of loss in their life, I think can really connect with it. So yeah, feel free to check it out. I play keys and sing backup on it. And so yeah, that's that. Yeah. So yeah, Brotherhawk, The Dreamer is the new album.
We will make sure to get the links and have them in the show notes so people can get right there and find it.
Awesome. Yeah. And as far as like anything else, I don't think so. We covered quite a bit.
We did.
So, but yeah, I don't, if there's anything else y'all can think of, I don't know.
Oh, I'm sure lots, but we want to be respectful of time too. And yeah, I just want to thank you for your vulnerability and courage in speaking to all of this. I know we asked some deep questions, and just thank you for sharing.
No, absolutely. Like I feel like I'm in a place right now where, because talking about some of those things, even just a couple years ago, would have been really hard for me. So I'm just really glad that I can do that. I can sit here and talk about all these things and be fine. So it just shows me where I'm at right now. So it's nice. That was a good experience. I enjoyed talking with both of y'all. So thank you.
Yeah, of course. I want to show some gratitude as well, because I think what I heard in there a lot was I don't want to say owning stuff, but you owned a lot of stuff. It wasn't like, oh, well, that relationship was hard because that person, or this one's been hard because of somebody else. But there was a lot of like, yeah, I struggled with stuff. And I think that vulnerability is huge, and it's so relatable, because I think we love to say, well, it's not me, it's somebody else. And then when we're able to stop and go, well, I probably bring a lot of shit to this party too. So it's hard sometimes.
I think that's been a big I think when Sammy and I had started dating and we were just the two of us for a long time, anytime we would have conflict come up, both of us are very stubborn, and it would take us a long time to resolve conflict. And then when Jace came into the picture, and he would witness these arguments of like 15 minutes of silence of us just sitting there, like not talking to each other and like saying one thing and saying, just Jace was just like, what the heck? And like, so we, Sammy and I learned to own things really quickly, or apologize for expedite the process. And it's way healthier now. So I think that's just a healthy part of humanity, is just to accept where you have gone wrong. And because that's a I heard a joke about toxic masculinity. Like someone was like, I'm gonna miss toxic masculinity because it's going away. Not really. It's not really going away. It's still here. But like, we make fun of it all the time because it is. That's one of the things about masculinity that you get taught is like, you don't show your emotions. You don't really own up to anything. And that's just bullshit, This really is. So,
well, and copying to something or admitting a fault or a misstep on your behalf, especially if there's insecurity, that all that does is shine a light on the insecurity. And so if you're moving through the world with a level of insecurity that also prevents you from ever owning anything, like they get in each other's way.
I didn't want to see fault in myself because it was hard for me, that kind of thing. So yeah, all of that just moved together very slowly to like healing and getting better and being a better person, not only for myself but for my partners. So yeah, it's been a long road, but it's been thoroughly worth it. So
right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad I haven't had to walk that path. I can imagine for others it's been hard, but yeah. I love that. I appreciate that very much, Nick.
Yes. Comes back to be true to yourself, and like the comment from the person in your life, go where you're celebrated. Right?
Absolutely. Yeah, for sure.
That's just beautiful.
Yeah, I love it. Well,
and not easy, but like you just said, worth it.
Yes, absolutely.
Like, no, we're not out here telling it's an easy road.
Yeah. It has been very hard.
Yeah.
Well, and you had it sounds like you and Sammy were the drivers for Jace having to get a therapy to go into therapy so he could navigate the two of you and your conflicts. I'm just giving you shit. I just thought that was like day one. He's like sitting there like, I'm gonna have to get some more training to deal with these two.
I hope it wasn't like that for him. I don't know, maybe, but
I love it. Well, I want to say thank you to Sammy and Jace for showing up here today in support of you sharing your story. So thank you to all three of you for being on here multiple times.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Thank y'all. Thank y'all for just helping put stuff out there and normalizing it, because everyone needs that, even if you're not like gonna go into it or try it yourself, but to know it's out there and know that it's not like some weird thing. Like I was gonna say when we were talking about our bed situation and our intimacy, like when people think of polyamory, they're like, "Oh, so you're having orgies all the time?" Like, no, that's not what it is. But it doesn't have to be. Doesn't have to be. It could
be. Right. It can be. It doesn't have to be. Right.
I'm just in the middle gasping for air and a cool breeze. That's all I'm doing in my night.
We're just out here living our life,
right?
Trying to be happy. So
I love it. Well, thank you, Nick, for sharing and for being out in the world the way you are.
Yeah.
So, thank you.
Thank
y'all. Thank y'all.
And we're back.
Sorry, that intro got long.
The intro did get long. Anyway, thank you, Nick, for coming on and sharing everything that you did. We're so grateful for the interview and the discussion and just you being you, and also excited about your music. A quick reminder to go check out Nick's band, Brother Hawk. Links are in the show notes.
And I was just going to echo Emma's gratitude. So thank you. And don't forget, this weekend is July 15th, the first ever inaugural Day of Visibility for Non-Monogamy. And we'd love for you to get involved. Again, links are on our show notes, normalizingnonmonogamy.com, where you can also find out all of the other stuff that we rambled on about for way too long in the intro. But you know what? If you don't want to listen to that intro, you can sign up as a premium subscriber.
That's true.
So I'm going to talk about budget smugglers for another 15 to 20 minutes.
That's in the intro, not now.
Okay. Next week.
Next week, we have an interview with Katie and Bo. It's super fun. Come back and listen.
It's beautiful.
It's beautiful.
It's a solidly beautiful episode next week.
It is.
I'll probably keep the budgie smuggler talk to a minimum so we can get right into it. I don't think I've made too many friends on this one.
Anyway, I think we're going to wrap it up. Are you good?
I think I've been good for a while.
Bye, everyone. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next week.